The Tidefall update is finally here and it's beautiful, but it does have quite a few things you need to get just before you can get down there. So without further ado, let's get started. So as you saw from the last clip, you cannot just dive down there without any gear. To fix that, we'll need to grab an advanced diving gear and preferably super flippers. As you can see, I'm coming here from the future and I already have them here. However, this is where you can find them. Grab your boat and head towards the Sunstone Island. Once you're there, you're gonna align yourself from the little tiny island up towards north on the compass. So from this little island, if you look up here, you can see the compass, and if you align towards the north, you keep heading this way. Soon after, you'll see a little bayou, or buoy, whatever. On top of it, you can find the advanced diving gear. Grab this, equip it, and then dive down into these caves. So we're making our way down here. This is also the area where you can obtain the Trident's rod, which is also the requirement to obtain Thalassar's rod, or whatever it's called. So once you're down here, at the sign, head left into the caves. If it helps, you can switch on the performance mode, which I already have switched on. However, it's still pretty dark. Just try to keep navigating with your advanced diving gear and you should be able to make it through with enough air. Once you're up here, this is where you can find the super flippers, which I highly recommend. I guess you can do it with just the regular flippers, but this will be a big upgrade for your future too. And we already have the advanced diving gear, which is great, and that's just enough to make it down there. Now that we have everything, let's make it back. Okay, now that we're back, make sure you have your advanced diving gear equipped and look for your flippers. I have my super flippers. I actually also have the Tidebreaker, which you can find in the other pocket of the area we just dove from. So instead of going left, you go right, but for the time being, we'll skip it. Also, word of advice, if you have the Blade of Glorp or the Glebus rod, whichever it is, I think it's the Glorp rod, you can actually use your flying saucer boat to actually go down pretty low. But for the time being, we'll just rely on our flippers and our advanced diving gear. So let's head down. And as we can see, it's significantly faster. Even when the pressure comes in, you shouldn't be too worried about it. Just align yourself with the sub that's just below us. Kind of go in front of it a little bit and keep diving down. Once you make it past the pocket, you make a little bit of a left turn and you'll see some water splashing around. Once you dive in here, you made it. Welcome to Tidefall. Probably have a really nice cutscene play out for you. I don't have it anymore because I've already visited this and had a bit of a peek around. But this is where you get started and unlock the Tidefall area. It consists of 4 areas in total. I believe it's 5 if we include the last room, but it has quite a few requirements just to get it unlocked. So let's get started. But right before we start going through all the ins and outs of this wonderful area, there's one thing I forgot to mention, and it's probably one piece of equipment that a lot of you will have already, but for some of you that won't, here's a quick way how to get it. It's the pickaxe. It will be very useful over here, only on certain occasions and in certain areas. It doesn't matter when you do it, you can go down to the Tidefall, you can get back out of it, you can do it right before. But to get a pickaxe, you can only get it in one spot, and that spot is Northern Expedition. So make your way there, and from there on, I'll show you the rest of the way how to find it. So once you make it here, you can find an oxygen tank just on your right, next to this guy. It only costs 1,000, so it's pretty cheap, and you'll probably need it. I can't really remember exactly. Once you have that, you'll want to head all the way around here. So taking all these ladders all the way up, going up, up, up. There's the first set of tents. You want to skip past those, keep going up, up, up once more. Keep going here, make a right turn, go all around, go up these ladders, and keep going along the edge. If you have a glider, perfect. That should be a great help. Keep going along here. We're almost there. You'll be making your way up the last set of ladders. And once you make it here, don't keep going right. You're going to want to head left, go up just a little bit more. And by this tent, on this box, you can actually find the pickaxe. Most people will probably be interested in just obtaining the Thalassar's ruin rod. So if you're only here for that, I'll include a little timestamp if I don't forget, which you can skip ahead to and find exactly where to find it and how to unlock it. I don't have all the requirements for it yet, but I'll still be showing you how to find it and link some useful resources on how to obtain the required items. For the rest of us, now that we have all of our items, including our trusty pickaxe, we can get started with exploring. My first word of advice would be to pick up the fallen rod. You will need it in one of the areas to complete or to start a quest that's in the Sunken Reliquary area. And for the rest of the things, you can check them out, but you don't actually need them just yet, including the Tide Mourner head, which is only useful for crafting one of the other rods. It also comes with an option to get the Dripstone collapse totem. I'll probably explain about it a little bit later, but for now, let's get to exploring. Before I even managed to finish cutting up the video, there's been an update, actually quite a few, to the Tidefall so far. So instead of going through it all, I just decided that I'll show you the update first and what's been added. So one of the main things was an innkeeper. So now we can actually save your spawn point in the Tidefall, which wasn't available before. Secondly, it's probably one of the biggest ones, is that the Dripstone collapse totem now only costs 7.5 million instead of, it was I believe 35 million. So if you look at the chat, you can see that the events happen a lot more often. It's pretty much back to back, and then you can easily gather up your essences. It seems like I'm missing one. I was pretty sure I got all of them, but oh well, probably missing one. Still, you can find these events pretty often happening now, and you can gather them up for unlocking the Thalassar's rod and for unlocking the Mermaid Lady for your enchants. Lastly, we now also have quests. So if you look at all these non-playable characters, NPCs, they'll all have an exclamation point above them, and if you talk to them, they'll mention something, what sort of fish or an item or anything like that they're after. I had a look through a few of them, spoke to them, and a lot of them have, I'd say, pretty standard requests to this area only, so like Tidefall, the collapsed ruins, and so on. But there are a few NPCs that will have some weird requests, like specific mutations, or even I think one of them asks for like a pirates, kings, whatever fish, something that's basically not from around here. But yeah, that's a pretty cool update, and it's nice that I managed to capture it just before releasing the video, so it will be up to date with the latest changes. It's in our first area, and that would be the Sunken Reliquary. You can see I'm filming this from the future, where the update has now been released and you have more quests, so there's more stuff to do, or while you're trying to complete the quest, you'll be able, to also talk to these NPCs and turn some fishes in, because most of them should be from around this area. But I guess the main NPC you want to focus on is this, the Magical Diver. With the first quest he'll give you, you'll be tasked with catching a certain fish that you need to use the Fallen Rod for, because it will need a Fallen mutation. If I check the bestiary, maybe we can find it. Sunken Reliquary. Okay, so it's the Flying Gurnard fish, Gurnard, however you pronounce it. And he will ask you for one with a Fallen mutation. Obviously, to get it, you will need to use the Fallen Rod. The mutation passive is probably around 30%. It took me a while. I got quite a few catches until I got it with the mutation, but that's the first part of the quest. Second part pretty much instantly involves you catching an Omnithal. An Omnithal is is it exotic? Yeah, it's an exotic fish that spawns in the Sunken Reliquary. The base premise is that each of the areas, so the Sunken Reliquary, the ruins, the coral area, and so on, each of them have a hunt that happens. And when the hunt happens, for that specific area, a fish will spawn. That's the exotic one. There's only one, so you will have to compete with others if you don't have, or you're not on a private server, to be able to catch it first and turn it in. These exotic fishes are also part of another requirement, which is what are they called? Basically the obelisks, where you'll need to turn these fishes into the obelisks for you to be able to open up the last gate. When it comes to the rest of this area, you also have this sort of half broken gate. If you walk up to here, you can interact with it, and there should be a mermaid that comes up. There it is. She will ask you to turn in the 3 essences. These are the ones you can get from mining the Dripstones, and that's why we got the pickaxe. But this is where you place them down, which I did not recommend to do it as of yet, until we receive the final rod. Afterwards, you can, go ahead and enchant it. This is basically like an advanced enchanting, and once you place down these 3 essences, you will get another quest or a requirement to gather a couple more random fishes. They can vary in like difficulty areas, and they won't necessarily be from the Tidefall area. From what I've seen in the latest patch notes, there have been some fishes that have been removed, so I believe the requirements should be a little bit easier. Overall, it doesn't work the same way as the regular enchants, where once you enchant, you get like a certain type of an enchant. I believe it gives you like an overall bonus, or it can vary from anything from like a couple % up to like, I don't know, 20% maybe. I would need to check it out. I'm not entirely sure because I haven't done it yet, but it gives you like an overall boost. So let's say you can get something like 3%, and you will get an increase in like lure speed plus 3%, luck plus 3%, so on, so on. So that's pretty much it for this whole area. Just in front of where you land and sort of the marketplace and the innkeeper, where we just went to the Sunken Reliquary, on your left you have the Coral Bastion. This is pretty much like all the other areas, except it's really pretty, and I do have the performance mode on, so excuse that it doesn't look as good as it should. But this is the area where the exotic fish will spawn during the hunt. You also have some crab cages. I guess they're not really recommended ones, and you don't need to use these specific like area crab cages to catch the sort of fishes in here. You can use any of the crab cages, but I believe as of right now, still the best recommended ones are the golden crab cages. As for the rest of the stuff, you can sort of fish around and have a look through the area. There is a hidden rod, I believe, somewhere here. Yeah, so we have the coral geode. We have another NPC that gives us a quest, and just behind him we have the coral rod. These are the stats for it. Again, I wouldn't say it's the best rod to get or to use here, but if you're like somewhere in the starting levels and you only have 30,000 available, that's a pretty good choice. And lastly, we have the spear that's right up here. So after a bit of parkour, once you manage to get here, this is where you can purchase the coral spear for 75,000. However, you will need, or you can only buy it when you have 70% completion of the Coral Bastion bestiary. So yeah, you'll have to do some fishing, means that you probably don't have to catch the exotic fish of this area. And I believe that was about it that you can find in the Coral Bastion. Also, as far as I know, the Dripstones event should no longer happen here, because even when it did, no Dripstones would actually fall. So for the people who bought the totems, use them. And it said that it's happening in the Coral Bastion. It never actually happened. On our path to the left, as we keep going, just outside the Coral Bastion, as you can see, I went past it, sort of over the bridge on this small area, did a bit of parkour just to get up here. We are now making our way into the collapsed ruins. This is probably one of the more or most open areas. It has a lot of sort of bridges and weird formations, but I'd say overall there's not that many things here. I can try and check, because I cannot remember if we have an exotic for this area. Collapsed ruins, we do. So there's supposedly a hunt that happens here in the collapsed ruins, and next up will be the crowned ruins. That one also has an exotic fish for it. I think the only thing that stands out here is an obelisk that I'll explain about a little bit later, that I mentioned a few times before. But when it comes to crowned ruins, there is one important thing. It's the golden crab cage. It's one of the best crab cages to use as of right now, especially if you're trying to complete the bestiary. And as we can see, we got the Omnithal appearing in the Sunken Reliquary. So what we'll do is we'll actually head out there and see if we can at least get a glimpse of how it looks, because it's probably one of the first or second hunts that I managed to see. I'll get back to you if I manage to make it there before anybody catches it. Sadly, I was not able to catch it. It was somebody else who caught it. But yeah, the fish looks massive, and once it's been caught, there we go. They're showcasing it. Once it's been caught, the water sort of settles again, and you just have to wait for the next hunt to happen. But this is what you're supposed to see, or when the hunt happens, and it can happen in any one of those 5, I believe, areas. I'm not sure if the Tidefall itself, like the main central area, has a hunt that happens. So, as I was saying, these crab cages are probably one of the best ones you want to get. They're obviously will be the most expensive ones too. And it's all because they have an increased luck catch rate. That means you have a better chance at catching the rarer fish. It also, I think, catches the fish faster, so you need to wait or spend less time waiting for something to swim into the crab cage. And yeah, they're probably the most worthy ones to use if you got the money for it. And right next to it, we can also find the Royal Spear that costs 3.7 million. And surprisingly, you need 100% of the Crowned Ruins bestiary discovered to be able to purchase it. Same thing as it is with the other areas. The Crowned Ruins also has an exotic fish that spawns in this sort of pond pool, whatever you want to call it. And it's also one of the requirements for the obelisks that I'll talk in just a little bit later. Lastly, we have the Tidefall Castle. This is sort of at the very edge of the Tidefall map, basically going around from the Sunken Reliquary, across the Coral Bastion, Collapsed Ruins. If you just keep following the path, you'll be able to find this sort of nook/cave that you can walk past, and it's accessible from both sides. You will enter into the Tidefall Castle area. A lot of the Dripstone events seem to be happening here, and I guess it's the most inconvenient spot ever for it, because you have these, I think they're called stalactites, or whatever they're called, because I think there's different ones depending on if they go from the ceiling or from the ground. But anyway, this is where we'll come after turning in all the exotic fishes to the obelisks that we saw all around the map. And this gate will open up, and you'll be able to enter the last area. I haven't sadly unlocked it yet. I have yet to catch a single of the exotic fishes, and where we just saw it, the event happening, it was probably one of my first occurrences where I actually was able to participate in one. It usually gets caught very fast, so I'll need to utilize a private server. Other than that, yeah, it's just that where the event happens, there is no exotic fish for this area, but I believe there's another one with probably a hunt that happens in the area behind the gate. Now we can go ahead and talk about the obelisks, how they work, and what else is required to make or to get this gate to open. Obelisks, pretty much the last part you should be focusing on in the Tidefall update. There's a total of 5 of them that are located throughout the Tidefall. Most of them will be in this sort of main room, and we can actually see another one here, and there's another one here somewhere. But the way they work is you need to bring a certain item to it for it to release its chains. For example, this one is probably the only one that really stands out. It's the white totem, and what it needs instead of the exotic fishes, it's asking for a sparkling dripstone. You can actually get it as a trash tier item, and it's massive, but it's not showing up right now. But yeah, you basically catch it with some garbage bait fishing in any of the areas, and it needs to be a sparkling one. As you can see, I got a shiny one, so that's sadly not the one we are after. There's quite a few of them around this area alone. I believe the only one that is not in this general Tidefall area is the one in the collapsed ruins. That's the golden obelisk. Here we have the sort of orange-ish one. This one asks for a Plesiosaurus or Plesiosaur, and it's the exotic fish from the collapsed ruins. Next up, we have another one just outside here. This is where we spawn. If we go just a little bit around, we can see the purple one. And the purple one is after the Omnithal, and the Omnithal you can get in the Sunken Reliquary. That's sort of where it spawns. If you remember, I already showed you how it looks, and we were unable to catch it. Next up, we have this one right here. That's the blue-ish one, or the blue one, with the sand surrounding it. This one is after a Reef Titan. That's from the Coral Bastion. That's the other exotic fish. Again, same thing. You catch it, bring it here, it will release the chains. So that's the one, and it needs to have a fish called Gold Wraith, and you catch it in the crowned ruins. So again, same thing, catch it, bring it here, turn it in. This will open up the castle gate, and you'll be able to enter the last area. From what I've seen so far, you cannot just randomly fish there. I believe there's also a hunt that's supposed to happen, and it will be announced, and then you'll be able to catch the last exotic, or I don't know, secret fish. Dripstones. One of the reasons why we needed, not actually one, the only reason why we needed a pickaxe. When the Dripstone event happens, you can see that there's a collapse that has begun, and it will tell you in which area. For this instance, it's in the Sunken Reliquary, and it can happen in any of the other areas, including the castle, except for the Coral Bastion. They never actually spawn there, and I believe it's been fixed. Since the latest updates, they now have this nice blue-ish highlight to them, and you no longer need to keep tapping it. So you just only click once, and it will keep mining it for you. The main reason why you want to do this is to gather up those essences. Now that they've introduced quests, it's also another way to get some essences. And as you can see, if you don't mine them in time, because I was pretty late for this event to start, they will just disappear. So make sure if you're still missing essences to actually make your way to wherever the event is happening. And they will be used for our last part, which we'll get to now. Okay, I've done a bit of testing around, and to get to the Thalassar secret area, you actually cannot make it with just the super flippers. You will need, I believe it's called the Tidebreaker. I have this item here called the Frostbreaker, which is pretty much the same thing, but I believe I got it during the Christmas event or something along the lines. As you can see from the Christmas decorations, I don't have the Tidebreaker on me. But after this, I'll show you first where do you go and what are the requirements to unlock the gate to access the Thalassar's Ruin Rod. Keeping in mind that it costs 14.5 million. And then if you still don't have it, I'll show you where you can actually get the Tidebreaker. So let's go down there and you'll see where it is. So you can see it works pretty much the same, and it's basically used to just go really fast. And where we want to navigate is there's a little hole that we go through just before diving off, and this is where we lose the pressure. Last time I tried this with just the super flippers, the pressure got me, so I wasn't able to make it. So I guess it's one of the requirements. Lastly, you'll enter this area called Thalassar Secret. There will be a gate where there's a couple of requirements that you'll need, and I'll show you where to get them. So, starting off, we'll need a sunken enchant relic. Now, as luck is on our side, there was just an update which changed how the treasure maps work, because in order to get the sunken ancient relic, you'll need a sunken mutation, and to get a sunken mutation, you'll need a sunken rod. And the only way to get the rod is from the treasure maps, or the treasure hunts, or the whatever it's called, sunken treasure events when you open up the chests. So basically one of those will land you the sunken rod. I believe after 50 chests opened, you'll be guaranteed getting a sunken rod, and that way you can catch a sunken ancient relic. That's a lot of times sunken being mentioned, but yeah, that's how you get it. Next up, we have a cosmic relic, another cosmic relic, exalted relic, exalted relic, exalted relic. Cosmic relics and exalted relics you can buy from the daily merchant. If you participate in admin events, there's also a weather event that happens where you can obtain these relics as well. And I think you have like a low chance of catching them randomly. I believe some of the areas might have a better chance than others at catching them. I'll try to look it up. But yeah, you'll need some relics, and lastly, you'll need the essences. So Tide Essence, Requis Essence, and Thalassar Essence. You get all of these, as you saw before, by mining the drip rocks. So we have the Requis Essence, Thalassar Essence, and the Tide Essence. You place them down here, but the gate still will not open. As you can see, it has like a bit of a weird indent into it, and the actual last requirement for it is a trident. You need to have your trident unlocked and equipped, and you actually lose it in the process of opening the gate, which you can also reclaim afterwards. Well, not reclaim, but repurchase again. But it's also one of the requirements, and technically the Thalassar Ruins rod is like an advanced version of like a combined trident plus evil pitchfork, something along those lines. I sadly don't have all the ancient relics yet, so I cannot open it. I actually am just missing the sunken ancient relic. But if I get it, I'll put it in. If not, before that, I'll show you where to get the Tidebreaker and how to obtain the Trident. So, in order to obtain the Tidebreaker and the Trident, we actually need to head once again where we got our super flippers. So if you remember, we go to Sunstone Island, align ourselves with this small island and head north until we hit the little buoy, and here we are. Dive down, go all the way down, but this time, instead of heading left at the sign, and I'll probably have to make this part brighter again, we'll head right. So this is the sign, if you remember. This is where you go to get the super flippers, and if we head right, swim past this area and just keep going, go around it, make sure not to hit any of the mines, and if we just come up off in the distance, I don't know what's that falling. Okay, it's an effect from a rod. And once we get up here, just next to the flippers, you can see the Tidebreaker for 40,000. This is also the area where you obtain the Trident. It's not that difficult, but it might be a little bit time consuming because one of the requirements is to have a full 100% desolate deep bestiary completion. Most of this stuff you can probably catch pretty easily, but there are a few things that you will need to use crab cages for. Strings you can just catch with some garbage bait. Other stuff, I don't remember if it says or not, but there's like 2 or 3 fishes that you can only get with crab cages. If you remember, Tidefall now has multiple variations of crab cages, so I would suggest using those if you have money and you have no time, and the best option would be the golden crab cages. If you don't have the money but have the time, you can just buy your regular crab cages and try and fish around here to complete the bestiary. Also, if you're wondering, you can actually buy the crab cages in the area, so you don't have to go back to Moosewood or wherever else you would buy them. Merchant, we go, well, right, I guess, towards the mirror, towards the magic mirror. You go up, and on this edge is where you actually want to be diving down into. You'll see sort of like a carcass of whatever giant fish, or I don't know, a dinosaur that sort of slept here, and just on the sort of edge where the first rib ends, you'll see a tiny crevice. If you manage to swim through it and just keep going through it, at some point you'll be able to come up and you'll be in this room with a door that has an eye on it. The only requirement here is, it doesn't say, but it just requires enchant relics. That's it. It's the regular enchant relics. I have 152 of these, so that's the requirement. And you just place down, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, and the door will open. You can also have somebody else open the door for you, but it will only be open for the next 1 minute. At the end of this room, you'll be able to purchase the Trident that you can then use in the Thalassar's secret cave to obtain the Thalassar's rod. So yeah, it shouldn't take you that long, and the enchant relics are pretty easy to get. You can usually buy a bunch of them at either Merlin, you can catch them, or even in the daily shop, you can buy a bunch of them. Usually every day there's at least a few. But yeah, that's how you complete the whole thing, obtain the Trident, and unlock the secret Thalassar's gate.